Hello everyone and welcome to Python for Cast, the cast where you can make the best out of Python, the cast for everyone that is willing to learn Python no matter your disposition, from child to adult, everyone can get something out of Python. Now in this episode, we're going to be looking at something interesting. We're going to be looking at assertions. Yeah, assertions seem very interesting, very simple. But a tweak to the assertion. What exactly is an assertion? In simple English, an assertion allows you to solidify your truth, right? So you say you assert that this is correct. You are sure that is correct. You are certain that is correct, right? In code, however, assertions allow you to confirm the certainty that something is actually true. So assert will always evaluate to true, and if it evaluates to false, an error is raised. Right? Now, you may already understand how assertions work, but we're going to give assertions a bit of a tweak this time. Let's take an example. You have a simple function that computes the total price of an item. So I have a simple function that does price times quantity, and what we expect it to do is to just simply return price times quantity. Yeah, nothing more, nothing less. So if I run this against a price of say $10 and a quantity of say 5 items, what happens is it should just return for me 10 times 5, 50, right? Now let's say this is all that you have in your own side of the code. You're part of the development team, and your job is just to make sure that the price and the quantity checks out and it returns the total, right? So input is coming from another member of the development team. He supplies the price, someone else supplies the quantity, and everybody's fine, all right? As long as the code works, everybody's fine. But then when you deploy your code into production, somebody decides that somewhere along the line, somewhere down the execution of the code, the price decides to become the quantity, for example, or rather, the quantity becomes -5, right? Something somewhere changes your quantity from 5 to -5. Now what happens? 10 times -5 becomes -50. Oh, okay. We know that when you compute the total of something, you should not be having a negative value, right? Now we have a problem. Now we have an error that our code successfully runs, but doesn't return what we expect it to, right? Bad news, very bad news. Now, what do? There are a couple of ways. The first thing that comes to mind is, you probably do a test. If quantity is less than 0, scream, right? Oh, sorry, yeah, that's it. If quantity is greater than 0, allow it pass. But once it doesn't meet that criteria, please scream, right? That's one scenario. Some people will use other forms of exception handling, like try, except, block, try, except, else, try, except, finally. So many forms, so many variants of the try, except, exception handling method, right? That's another. But if you look at these two, what happens is you are at liberty to give feedback to the user, like, oh, if you do not meet this criteria, you have entered the wrong value, right? If it is code, if it is a bug that, for example, was part of the, say, development, for example, right? Maybe not user input. Maybe somewhere along the execution of the code, something happens, right? How do you catch all of those kind of bugs? Right? That's where assert comes in. So some people believe that you can only use assert statements in tests, but no, you can actually use assert statements right inside your code, right? Now, someone asks me, okay, if I have if else, or I have try except. Why do I need assert statement? Now, assert statement will end the execution of your code the moment an error is raised. An if else statement will continue your code running, of course, unless the else requires that you now call sys.exit or some way to end your code, right? Or and the same is valid for try except as well. But for assert statement, the moment it hits that particular code block is dead. Game over. No more execution. Everybody's dead, right? So how do we really check that this works, right? Let's find out. So what you do is, in our simple example, remember, compute total price quantity. All your return is price times quantity. Now all we have to do to our code is just to enter a simple extra line called assert quantity is greater than 0. And what this means is that if you enter the right thing, everybody's happy. Sorry. But if you enter the wrong thing, somebody will have to scream. Now what happens here, it just automatically returns an assertion error, right? And at that point, everything, the code automatically ends execution. This is excellent if you are trying to make sure that other parts of the code do not execute when, so it's for critical parts of your code, you have to put it everywhere. Where you want your code to completely stop running if you get to this point. Well, some use it for development, and when they get to production, they push all of their sessions into tests. You can also do that. In fact, that is, if you are doing test-driven development, it's actually the way to go. All of these things you're writing inside your code, you put it inside your tests, right? And then each time you make a change, you run your tests to be sure that all of the information checks out and you're good to go, right? So that explains it, how assertions work and how you can use it right inside your code. A bit of an extra you can always get out of assertions. So there we have it. I'm sure whoever you are, biologist, chemist, physicist, accountant, whoever you are, you can always use this stuff in your line of work. Adopt Python, because Python for everybody, right? This is the Python forecast, and we are going to see you in the next episode. Cheers.